the phone-ternet.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah. But, like, whenever we have Izzy on, she just recently got herself a headset. And so every time she's been on, it's been with her MacBook Air's mic. And I got to say, it's impressive. Like, when she was here and we were doing, I think, like, Skype Sketch or on TeamSpeak or something, like, we decided, you know what, we're just going to go through your mic. So I could hear, but like all of our voices were coming out of her deal. So I don't even remember what we were doing. I just have a couple of pictures of us sitting around my dining room table doing something. I mean, we were on the internet just kind of screwing around. But I have been very impressed with those MacBook mics.
They are certainly not bad, but considering I have at least the Plantronics headset, which is a step above, and then the super nice instrument mic, which is really, really good. Like, we're constantly pushing for the audio quality of this podcast to be better and better. So it's super annoying, and the Mac is like, nah.
You got here. Why don't you use this? Tap.
Yeah, I've had the microphone. Yeah, I plugged in the Plantronics. It recognized it right away. I don't know why. Every once in a while it goes, I don't want to recognize your really nice microphone. So there we go. Ugh, annoying microphone problems.
Actually, it's kind of funny because I put together a list of pictures for the stream, and they are going to be my reminders about what we want to talk about. Like Jack, I had forgotten that we were going to talk about Daredevil, and then you reminded me, like, before we actually went on and started recording. So, yeah, I can't wait to talk about that.
He's only my favorite superhero ever.
Really?
Daredevil's my favorite.
I will tell you, gentlemen, I've only seen the first episode.
Well, that's fine.
So
we were gonna.
Too much.
Yeah, we wanted to talk about it, but we know that not everyone has had the chance to finish 13 hours of TV in weekend one. Not even week one. Weekend one.
What? Come on. We're all that dedicated, right?
Apparently not.
Well, and I have an excuse, and it's a poor one, and we can get into that later.
Hi, I'm Jonathan.
Hi, I'm Jack.
And I'm Lauren.
And we are Glib Shark. Tonight, the three of us reunite to capture the past week. We're talking about Daredevil, Mortal Kombat, whatever comes up. If you want to join in on the conversation, the number to call. Have a pen ready? Let's go. 215-486-2125. Or if you have Skype, call Jenga Ship, and we'll let you in on the conversation. But first, as always, or at the very least as often as we can, we have the lovely, the talented, the amazing, the stupendous, see, I added an adjective, Oboe Crazy, here to do a little something that we call This Week in Geek. How are you, Oboe?
I'm doing great. I have an all Marvel This Week in Geek for you this week. No Avengers spoilers. None of that, because I know Jonathan's trying to avoid it, but a few other things. First, let's talk about Captain Marvel. I don't like to talk about rumors too much. They're rumors, but these two rumors are pretty well established as being true, and if it comes true, would be pretty awesome. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the studio is close to signing two writers who will team up to script the big screen debut of Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, Nicole Perlman, and Meg Lefebvre. Now, Nicole Perlman was most recently the co-writer of Guardians of the Galaxy, and Meg Lefebvre is the co-writer for Pixar's Inside Out, which is it's going to be coming out shortly, and it's gotten a lot of really positive buzz. The deal isn't in place yet, but negotiations are well underway. The two apparently had some pretty awesome pitches for a story, so Marvel decided, well, let's bring them both together and stick them in a room and let them do awesome things together. It's also kind of cool that they're grabbing two of the hottest female writers in Hollywood today who are into genre movies and sticking them in a room together and having them write Captain Marvel. So I like this. I think that's awesome, but we'll see. Marvel is aiming to release Captain Marvel on July 6th, 2018. So they've only got a little bit of time to put a script together, but hey, I thought Guardians was awesome, and Pixar is pretty cool, so this sounds good. To another Marvel property, Spider-Man. That's right. he's kind of Marvel again. So ever since we found out that Marvel finally got back the use of Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, everybody's been kind of speculating about how that's going to happen. Now, I said I wasn't going to talk about Age of Ultron, and I'm not, but all the actors and everybody have been on press junkets for the last couple of weeks because of it, and so some other information has come out, including president of Marvel Studios Kevin Feige, who confirmed a whole slew of Spider-Man rumors, basically detailing what they're going to do. So they've already come out and said, we're not doing any more origin stories, and they've confirmed we're not doing an origin story for Spider-Man. It will be Peter Parker. It will be a high school aged Peter Parker, and the studio is looking to cast an actual high school aged guy to be Peter Parker, which is kind of cool. Spider-Man will not get an origin story in the Marvel iteration, which is cool. And then Feige also said, quote, "We want to reveal it in a different way and spend much more time focusing on this young high school kid in the MCU dealing with his powers. There is a young kid already running around New York City in a homemade version of the Spider-Man costume in the MCU. You just don't know it yet," which is kind of awesome. And while I know we've all kind of said that we were hoping that it was Miles Morales as Spider-Man, I think going with the classic Peter Parker, there's nothing wrong with that. And I love that we're not going to have to get an origin story for him, that he can just show up in Civil War and do awesome shit. Finally, on said press junket, we finally know why we haven't seen another Incredible Hulk movie. Yeah, there's been a couple of them, and they've been of variety of qualities, but ever since Avengers came out, the newer Mark Ruffalo version of Hulk and Bruce Banner has kind of been one of the standouts of that movie, and a lot of people have wondered, well, why haven't you tried again with a Incredible Hulk movie? And Mark Ruffalo apparently found out and told people. So Universal owns the rights to the character Incredible Hulk. So does Marvel. It's basically a Spider-Man thing long before Spider-Man happened. Universal has the rights to do Incredible Hulk movies. Marvel has the rights to put Hulk in other things. And Ruffalo confirmed it. He said, quote, "As far as Hulk movies, a standalone Hulk movie, Marvel doesn't have the rights to yet. That's still Universal's property, so there's that issue. It's a big impediment to moving forward. I don't think that's insurmountable, by the way, but I don't know where it's going from here for me." End quote. Which makes sense. I mean, if you look at Marvel's lineup, there's 20 million other Marvel movies coming out, all newer properties, all moving on to phase 4, phase 6, phase 24. So I could definitely understand Disney going, why would we put out another Incredible Hulk movie and pay Universal all this money when we can put out a Carol Danvers movie and make all this money for ourselves? That's all for This Week in Geek. I'm Obo Crazy, and I'm still rooting for a Hawkeye movie.
The world is indeed a strange place. If you have a fact you want read live and on the air, say for instance a Spider-Man, Captain Marvel, not the Hulk team up. I mean, I'm guessing they still have the rights to Devil Dinosaur, let's say. You
Sure,
can
why
send
not?
it. Yeah, you can send it to Lauren at obocrazy.com, and while you're at it, go to glibshark.com for past episodes of Modern Glibshark, Classic Jam, Anytime Buttcasts, or just things in general, because things are pretty comprehensive. Glibshark.com, where all the cool kids hang out. But I'm kind of bummed out. I mean, go ahead, man.
I wanted to mention the thing about Hulk. Yes, he was a standout, but he had 2 movies to really try and get the Hulk thing going. And I know there's other stuff that Hulk could do. There's Planet Hulk, there's World War Hulk, and there's stuff like that. But it seems like, at least for right now, it's okay that we don't get a Hulk movie. One, even Ruffalo, I think, would have trouble having this on its own, even if you brought in stuff like She-Hulk and Red Hulk and stuff like that. I think it would be a stretch. And for right now, I think Ruffalo just showing up in Avengers movies or Civil War or whatever else is just fine.
I
think
agree.
it's a good use of him. Like, for instance, there's another character in Marvel who's had multiple movie attempts, all of which have pretty much bombed. And I'm speaking, of course, of the Punisher. And now that there's this Marvel like gritty kind of television universe, it's sort of developing inside the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That might be a good place for Frank Castle to dish out his variety of justice.
Well, actually, it's funny that you mentioned that as we transition to talk of Daredevil. You know what? I'll touch on that in just a second, the point I was about to make. But Daredevil, guys, it's actually good.
Yeah,
It's really good. It was kind of funny when I was when I was watching it this weekend. I was sick on Friday, so I used the opportunity to knock out 6 episodes, I want to say, in between like bouts of consciousness. And I ended up talking, I got to about like, I think episode 9 or 10, just about done with it. And I had been talking to our good friend Izzy. And she mentioned that the series is so good that you forget that there was a movie. And my response to that was, what movie? What are you talking about? So this will be the last time I acknowledge any previous attempts at live action Daredevil.
No, I think it's good. I think it's good to remember the past. I think as geeks,
let's forget it. It's so bad.
I think it's
so
super
bad.
I think it's super good to remember Daredevil and Elektra. I think it's good to remember the awful Catwoman Halle Berry movie. I think it's good to remember the cheesy Batman movies. I think it's good to remember those because we're in a golden age right now of superhero movies, of just geek shit everywhere. And geeks have taken over entertainment. And I think to keep us humble, we need to remember that it can go bad very, very quickly. And, for those who are looking ahead at some of the movies coming up going, well, that's going to be Marvel's downfall. Well, that's going to be the thing that ruins all of this. Dude, we already had those things. They already happened. If we can learn from those, we'll be good. So I don't want to ignore them. I don't want to forget that it happened because knowing that happened makes this TV show all the more impressive.
Nah, just watching the show will make you forget about it. It really will. Like, this is just, it's just, God, I'm trying to think of more adjectives, and I think Jack will hit on them here in just a second, but I did not realize that a lot of those characters could be this nuanced. And I'm not just talking about the big players, the Matt Murdocks and the Wilson Fisks. I'm talking about like everyone in between. And I think that's where TV shows get really good, is that, okay, you have your tentpole characters, but then you have all the guys that aren't. They're the other guys. If you can make those other guys interesting, and gals, then you've got a show. And I think that's where Daredevil just blows it out the water. Just does awesome.
It does a great job of world building, for sure. One of the standout characters for me in the first episode, and then across the entire run, is Wesley, the right-hand man of, I would say, Wilson Fisk, but we don't say his name.
No, we don't say his name. That's right.
He's just
Our
so,
employer.
calm and collected, and he's sort of this sort of civilized face of brutality, which parallels very well with D'Onofrio's portrayal of Wilson Fisk. And I just sort of say, I don't remember the name of the actor is, so props to him for the job that he did across the entire series, because I thought he was by far like the sort of stole every scene that he was in, with the exception of the one character who shows up in the middle, who I will not reveal, but like every line he says is gold. And Roadblock knows what I'm talking about.
I think I do.
You definitely do.
As someone who's only seen the very first episode, I'll give it the highest praise I can for a TV show, which is I'm going to watch more, because I don't really watch much TV. I don't watch much of anything if it's not a D&D show or something. So the fact that I've watched, and the only reason I haven't watched more just yet has been timing and a couple of other random things. But yeah, that first episode I thought was really solid. I really liked that. I like the fighting was appropriately fun but brutal.
Yeah.
A lot of the time when you watch superhero battles, especially, it can feel a little sterile because they are usually going for a PG-13, and especially when you're watching fist fights, it can seem a little crazy. And any real fist fight, if it's got the weight that it should, it only lasts for 1 or 2 punches and then someone's down. And so to have that kind of that feel whenever Daredevil is going after somebody was felt really authentic, which
Yeah.
is what that is. And then to actually have lawyering and investigating going on. I was telling Luke, it feels you can't have a Batman show and stay true to that character without there being crime scene investigation. He has to be a detective. He can't just run around beating people up. Daredevil's the same way. And
Yeah.
it had that, and it was Law and Order Hell's Kitchen.
And I love the nuanced way that the take they do on Fisk. That in the Marvel continuity, he is this grand, well-known philanthropist, right? He has this good face, but secretly he's this evil, like criminal mastermind, right? Whereas here, in this age of media where everyone's doing selfies and willingly volunteering everything about themselves, this is a man who flies completely under the radar. And I think it's just a brilliant take on the character. And D'Onofrio does a really good job with his portrayal of Fisk, showing him as being sort of magnetic and powerful, but also a little awkward in times in his delivery, which is something you see in a lot of actual CEOs, where they're effective leaders, they're very smart and very capable, but they're not necessarily the type A personalities the way that a Mark Cuban would be, or these over the top like Tony. He's like the anti Tony Stark, if that makes sense. Roadblock. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say?
Yeah, and you don't have to ask me if it's making sense. I know it is. And
Okay.
the gentleman who played Wesley is Toby Leonard Moore, and he delivered one of my favorite lines in the whole series. Was that when he's talking to some of his minions, he said, "Maybe if he," referring to Daredevil, "had an iron suit or a magic hammer, that would explain why you keep getting your asses handed to you." And I love I think one of the best things about the series is that, yes, it builds its own little Hell's Kitchen world, but it's also definitely a part of the grander scheme. Yes, they refer to the Battle of New York as the incident, but there are lots of other little references like that. So that it never takes you out of the Daredevil world, out of this place on the ground that you've got to have your nose in, that you really can't see past the boundaries of Hell's Kitchen. And that's great. That's what the Marvel Cinematic Universe needs. And I think this is a much more effective, small-scale story than you might see in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I guess what I want to say is this is a better companion series in the Marvel Universe than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think even now, I think the small scale of Daredevil really is to not only its benefit, but just the benefit of a show. It doesn't need to pander to anything else. You don't see like Iron Man flying by to get to Avengers Tower. You don't see like a kid in a rudimentary spider costume like poke out the alley, look both ways, and then like run off. It doesn't need any of that. It's just very, very interesting just on its own.
And I love that it's informed by the events in the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe, where basically the Battle of New York bombs Hell's Kitchen back to the 70s, and that's why it's all violent and crimey again. Whereas in the real world, like Hell's Kitchen is basically the Javits Convention Center neighborhood. It's pretty gentrified at this point. It's not.
When I was reading about Hell's Kitchen, because I don't actually know a whole lot about Hell's Kitchen or smaller neighborhoods like that in New York.
Sure.
The Wikipedia article mentioned that it was getting gentrified now, that rent is very, very expensive there, whereas before it had been a slum.
I mean, it's still Manhattan. And one of the reasons I know about Hell's Kitchen is because, full disclosure, Daredevil is probably my favorite Marvel character. I identified with him very early on the whole Catholic identity, the whole love of the law and justice, but also, dealing with, a little bit of anger, too. I love that part about him, and the census part I don't identify with so much, but I thought he was most interesting. Like, he's the most noir character that Marvel has, and I think the people say that he's their Batman, but it's not. That's oversimplification. I think in many ways Daredevil is a more captivating character, and they did a really good job of capturing all the different facets of him. His being raised by effectively a single father, his Catholicism, his anger issues, his training, the way his world works, and his way of basically, and they reference this in the other adaptations of Daredevil as well, the way that even though he's blind, he ends up with like gorgeous women all the time. And I feel like just in general, like the whole, and in a strange way, it's the most positive portrayal of Catholicism and like Catholic priest that we've seen in television in a very long time.
Oh yeah, like his priest buddy is is just someone you can talk to. He's his confidant. He offers him a latte. He's like, "Oh, we just got this espresso machine. It's great." Like I said, it just all of the characters, the second and third bananas, all are good. I think my standout though is the gentleman who played Foggy Nelson, and I'll have to look up his name.
Eldon Henson.
Yes, basically the big kid in the Mighty Ducks, I believe.
That's what he was? Oh, that's why he looks familiar.
Yeah, and it's funny because he's like a lot of other kids that were really, really big when they were kids. When they grow up, not that big. He's only 5'9".
Huh.
Matt Murdock's only 5, or I guess Charlie Cox is 5'10".
Yeah, about that.
I liked in the first episode how he manages to be. I mean, it's obvious if you're going to be the other guy, the other lawyer in a Daredevil show, and you're not Daredevil, you kind of get relegated almost to sidekick status. But I like that he is a competent individual in his own right. That they don't
moral too.
Yeah. But like in the very first episode, he's the one who goes out and gets that first case. He's the one who has enough realism to what his job is and to what the situation is. You know, he knows what he's doing it, and he's still moral enough to want to help people, but it's, you know, he's not the buffoonish sidekick. I like that.
He's a bro, but not a bra.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is definitely a better Foggy Nelson than I guess I'm remembering from some parallel universe that maybe there was a Marvel movie about Daredevil.
That was so long ago, and then he was barely in the movie, if you remember. Like, he wasn't in there
John
a lot.
Favreau?
Yeah, he was in there a decent amount. But like compared to how much screen time Foggy gets now, like the whole show is really kind of a trilogy, right? These are the three main characters. You got Foggy, you got Matt, you have Karen.
Yeah, and Deborah Ann Woll making the transition from True Blood to Marvel Cinematic Universe, essentially. I think
that
this
wall,
is.
Though.
Oh yeah, that wall though. Yeah.
But no, seriously, like the whole way she
that's actually something that is very, very unique about this series, is that not only does it have the brutal violence, but you also got more skin than you'll ever get in any other Marvel property. Any of the Marvel Cinematic
crossing. I mean, they didn't cross the line, but they came pretty close.
They came really close. Like I was telling someone, I think the only language that they don't use is fuck. Like they don't actually say the F word, and they don't actually show nudity. Like they don't show butts.
So it's basically like FX.
Yeah, it's which is as gritty as yeah, exactly. Actually, like the Americans on FX shows way more than this.
I'm curious if that's a conscious decision or if they're going to change that, because with this airing on Netflix, they don't have to abide by cable standards as far as anything goes. I mean, they could have put practically anything out there short of pornography,
right,
because it's their own service. Now there's reasons behind not going, you know, I don't think Daredevil needs an R rating the same way you need to go that way with Deadpool, thank you. The name didn't come to mind. But you know, it's interesting that they decided to skirt that. I mean, obviously the fight sequences that I watched are brutal enough that they alone could have garnered, you know, a quote unquote R rating, because there's blood and there's violence. But yeah, it's kind of interesting that they're skirting the HBO gambit, you know?
And I think there's a reason for that. I think because for the MCU, at the end of the day, these are still characters that are read by, I mean, children, basically. So you can go up to a certain line and not cross it, so it still feels like it's in the same world. Like, if they went, like, full on, like, with the blood, with the blood and the nudity, I mean, it's pretty gory, don't get me wrong, but it still feels like a Marvel property. It still feels like it belongs in the same universe as Guardians of the Galaxy, as Avengers.
Right.
But the action sequences, when I say brutal and violent, people think of over the top, like spaghetti violence and like Kill Bill. It's not like that. With that kind of stuff, it's so over the top that it's cartoonish, and it takes you out of it a little bit. With this, you're in it. And you're in there with them, and you can kind of feel the punches in your ribs. And it's not like one punch the guy goes down. You have to hit them over and over and over again. And they hit you, and they put hooks in you, and they cut you, and they throw you off of things. And it's bad.
Yes. But there's actually a sequence that reminds me of, and it's reminded a lot of people of the hallway fight in Hellboy, and not Hellboy, Old Boy, where it's this just one take brutal fight sequence that you can tell by the end the actors are legitimately tired because the people doing it would be tired, and it's definitely a nice tribute and extremely well done. I think we can probably expect a lot of the same like self-censorship going forward in the Netflix Marvel series, like aka Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and then Iron Fist.
And I'm really looking forward to A.K. Jessica Jones because as Daredevil is my favorite like comic book character, my favorite like comic book series of all time has actually been Alias, like the one that A.K. Jessica Jones is based on, written by Brian Michael Bendis, who's on the Nerdist a couple of weeks ago. So if you have listened to one more podcast other than this one, listen to that Nerdist episode with Brian Michael Bendis. It's a good one. But I feel like stylistically, you're not going to see the same necessarily the action sequences because Jessica Jones isn't really a martial artist character the way that Daredevil is. Although we'll probably come back around to about how Iron Fist comes about.
Yeah, and with Luke Cage.
There are some hints to Iron Fist specifically that come in the show. I'm not going to say what they are.
Yeah, let's move on because, like I said, people in this broadcast haven't seen it all.
But they're clearly building a larger world.
Right.
I'll leave it at that.
But yeah. Anyway, I think one of the things that this series reminded me of is its action choreography is as good as Arrow's, and I think you don't get as good TV choreography as far as like action and martial arts as Arrow. Except when Daredevil came along. I think Daredevil really does give it a run for its money. But anyway, what I was going to say earlier was that there were rumors that the villain for Defenders might be Frank Castle.
That makes a lot of sense, because he kind of fits right in with that world, and he's sort of the dark reflection of these vigilante/superhero type characters. Although Jessica Jones is kind of at best a reluctant superhero, she's pretty much a private investigator, and she never really embraces the costume life again. But which I think makes her a nice counterbalance. But she's still basically on the side of the angels, reluctantly. And with Frank Castle, it's kind of the only way you can do justice. Whereas every time they've had to do a movie before, they have to build this world in 2 hours, and then you have. And with movies, I think you have a whole bunch of different interests that you have to appease and placate, and there's so much more on the line. With television, you can build towards a story, and they still have those interests, but they don't have as much of a voice, which I think is why TV in the last 10, 15 years has gotten better than movies, because there's more independence, because there's freedom you have that you do not have in film.
Well, there's also the opportunity to tell a story as it should be told. I've always said that Watchmen would have made a much better single episode or single season show on HBO or Showtime or something. Sure. And lo and behold, now we're getting stuff that is as good as Watchmen told in those forms. I mean, you could not have done a Game of Thrones movie series and still had it be as good as the TV series. You couldn't have had a Game of Thrones, the movie, and then stay tuned in 3 years when we have a Clash of Kings, the movie. It just wouldn't work.
It's too dense.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we're finally moving into these different ways of telling these stories, that it's not so, well, if it's not a half an hour daily TV show, or if it's not an hour-long drama, something we can package into 22 episodes and sell, then I don't want to look at it. Now we actually can do stuff like the Netflix series, or short-form episodic TV, or stuff that's just going out on the interwebs, and I like that we're getting that variety.
I don't know why, but I'm... if Frank Castle, if the Punisher turns out to be the villain of Defenders, I have it in my head a slight retooling of the Age of Ultron trailer where you pan over New York and you hear Frank Castle's voice going, "I'm going to show you something beautiful. Criminals screaming for mercy." And then you have pan over all the Defenders, and then he walks out and then for some reason says, "There ain't no strings on me." And Daredevil's like, "That doesn't make any sense." It's I know, I got it somewhere else.
My favorite image that I've seen floating around has been from that same trailer at the end where Hawkeye's turning to, I think it's Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and he's saying, "If you walk out the door, you're an Avenger." And I
haven't seen that. That's not in the first trailer.
I thought that was in the first trailer.
No, it wasn't. The only words spoken in the first trailer are "This is the end of the path I started this down," and then Scarlet Witch, or not Scarlet Witch, but Black Widow says nothing lasts forever, and then it's like just all Ultron voiceover.
Yeah.
The very first teaser trailer. That's all I've seen.
Oh God. I don't even remember that one.
And another thing I like about the whole miniseries kind of aspect is because there's no pressure to build like a second season necessarily of Daredevil. Although I definitely welcome it at this point. There's no pressure really to have to do that and have to commit to 3 seasons.
No, like they can let this ride for up
3 or
until
4 years.
Defenders, yeah, and then maybe have a second season. But
honestly,
you're right;
I
they
would
don't
not be
have to do it.
I would not be surprised if these characters ended up playing some sort of role in the Captain America 3 film, which is supposed to be the kind of the war of the superheroes kind of deal.
Maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how many you can really shove into one movie. I mean,
even cameos and stuff. I mean, a Daredevil action sequence in there would probably be tremendous. Even just that's all
I
it
think
gets
we're gonna see the limits of how many superheroes you can fit into a single movie tested at least a few more times up until Avengers Infinity Wars, because you had a ton of people in Avengers, that now you're going to have a ton of people in Age of Ultron, and then you're going to have a ton of people in Cap 3,
which is Avengers 2.5.
Right, and it's going
and each
to
of
be,
those have been a ton of people plus more, and a ton of people plus even more.
So we're gonna. It's just going to get more and more ridiculous until 2018 when Infinity Wars dropped. And then it's going to get even more ridiculous for 2020 when what is it, 2020 or 2019?
That
I think it's Avengers Infinity War. I think it's 19 and 20.
I don't remember, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Oy.
Yeah, indeed.
I mean, I'm excited, but that is probably the thing I'm the most.
Lauren, stop spoiling Hawkeye lines for me.
It's 18 and 19.
I'm sorry. I thought that was in the first trailer.
So 18th, and it's 2000. Part 1 is in 2018. Part 2, 2019.
Okay, because I think we were getting Inhumans and Captain Marvel, I think, in between both those movies.
Yes, and
maybe even Black Panther.
Panther, yeah.
Panther's on the schedule. I think everything's been pushed back because of Spider-Man rejoining the universe.
Was it? I didn't think anything actually moved when that happened.
They moved some stuff. I'm pretty sure. I just don't remember.
Because I thought they had said that there were some movies he was not going to appear in because there just wasn't time to put him in. But I don't know. Maybe things have changed.
I'm going to call it right now. Now, as we've just demonstrated, I know nothing about Avengers, Age of Ultron, that wasn't in the teaser trailer, the very first thing. I've seen little bits and pieces, but I'm otherwise ignorant. Decidedly so. There's going to be a Spider-Man cameo in Age of Ultron. I know they've denied it. I know they have said that it's not going to happen. They're liars. I think we get a small glimpse of a kid running down the street in a Spider-Man costume in Age of Ultron. I believe this is going to happen.
So that's what Ultron meant when he said, "I want to show you something." Isn't he cute?
he just steps out of the way of an
adorable.
alley, and there's some kid in a crappy Spider-Man costume.
I'm going to show you something. Isn't he a Dickens?
God, I can't wait for this movie.
I know.
Seriously.
And it's still too long away. And
It is 3 weeks away.
Not only is it 3 weeks away, it is only like a week and a half from the European release. Don't they get it a whole week or so before we do?
I think they do, and
which is why there's been all this press out there for it. So.
I'm not going to lie. Tickets to London were priced. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. I have bought my ticket to see it April 30th, but
I got mine as well. I have going to the IMAX 3D, sadly, but because I do want to go with my friends to the balcony, and so I can eat and drink and.
You talked about that.
But yeah, I ultimately decided that the IMAX is where it's going to be because its showing is a half an hour earlier than the other theaters, and that's piddly. That's nothing. But you also, I've seen some of the ideas for posters that IMAX people might get, and I want one of those.
Now, I was able to find at the Cinnabar that I love to go to, they are doing, of the few April 30th showings that they have, one of them, the one that I bought tickets to, is not in 3D. So I'm going to get to see Age of Ultron and not have a headache afterwards, and I'm excited.
God.
Yay! I
Oh,
guess I need to make plans to book this movie at some point. I'm guessing there'll be tickets available somewhere to see it. It's not like
Yeah,
it's.
although certainly with it being opening night, you might want to consider buying ahead of time. I'm not normally someone to pre-purchase these things, but I think if there's any movie this year short of Star Wars,
Star Wars. I was going to say, yeah.
short of Star Wars for I want to go opening night, it can't hurt to Fandango this crap.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
I would definitely recommend it because you don't. Let's put it this way, Jack. If you haven't seen it that next Tuesday, we're not going to have you on the show. I think
Oh.
we can put that to a vote.
That's fair.
Solve?
That's
Lauren?
that's more.
I-
Vote?
I can agree with that. Yes.
Okay.
We're going to talk about it.
Oh my
We're
goodness.
going to talk about it a lot. So that leaves you a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday, and a Monday to see it. So that's plenty of time.
Yep.
Oh, apparently it's playing at the Plaza Theater in Humboldt, Tennessee. Why it gave me the Tennessee playtime, I have no idea.
All right, we should probably talk about some of the 20 million other things that Roadblock has put into the chat here, or through all these pictures, because I'm seeing them scroll by.
Right.
And some of them are sports that I cannot comment on, but I did see Child of Light.
Yes, you did.
So, real quickly, have you finished it?
I have finished it.
What did you think?
I liked it. I think I know the first thing I heard about it was a zero punctuation review, and he was quite harsh on the game. He thought it was a mishmash of stuff that didn't really work, and the poetry versing really, really annoyed him.
Yes.
I would agree with the poetry part. I think that got really old fast, and I think when you compare it to the way that Ori and the Blind Forest does its narration, where it's like booming non-English voice with subtitles, you try and compare it to that, and it just doesn't compare. This is a little bit more classic, but the poetry just really made it hard to read. And I didn't really find any humor when you ran into the character who was just incapable of rhyming, so your little Firefly would always correct them. I didn't find any humor in that. But I did like the game. I thought it was a very solid, light RPG, and it had some really, really good mechanics. I think they could have done more to try and encourage you to mix up your party a little bit. By the end, I was using like the big tanky guy and Aurora, and once I had that combination, I never strayed. I used them for every single boss fight, or every single fight from then on.
I agree with most of that. I think there are certainly characters that you can just ignore. I did tend to stick with a couple of different characters. Especially at the end, I was using the big tanky guy. I was using Aurora a lot. But, admittedly, at that point in the game, a lot of the battles that you're fighting are against characters or enemies that are weak to light damage. And those are your two main, because I put a light buff on big tanky guy. So those are my two main attack with light guys. Certain other points of the game that had different enemies that were weak to other things that other people in my party could do. Mostly Finn, because it was a lot
Finn
of
was the other character that I used a lot.
Yeah, Finn I used a lot. And then when I got, I've lost the name of Aurora's sister. I was using her quite a bit because she had a really powerful slash, and haste is, because of the mechanics, super powerful. So it's kind of going between them and then a little bit of the jester dude, Rebella. But yeah, there were certainly other characters that just, I intellectually like the idea that they're throwing new characters with new abilities at you throughout the whole game, but by 2/3 of the way into the game, I'm just like, now especially when you can only play with two at a time.
Yeah, that was, I think, a big weakness.
Yeah.
And it was done for the sake of simplicity. I know they didn't want things really getting out of hand because you have more PCs than you would have had to have harder bosses and more enemies. And I think it struck a really good balance. But in the end, it was just, as soon as the fight started, my tanky guy would cast Taunt. Then Aurora would cast Elevate Damage that I maxed, one of the first skills that I maxed with her. And then it was just either, depending on the characters, either Slash All or Starlight All.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. The other good thing about that, even though I agree with you, is that there's no penalty for switching out characters. If it's your turn to
Yeah.
act and you say, "All right, I want to switch," it's just an immediate switch. So that I liked. I totally agree with you on the rhyming scheme, which I wanted to like it because I'm like, this is unique and artsy, and I think it was just done poorly.
It was
Maybe
just
if it,
done badly.
yeah, maybe if it was actually narrated, because the few times where you get the narration cutscenes, that didn't irk me quite so much. So maybe it just needed, poetry sometimes is like Shakespeare. It's better when you hear it than when you read it. But yeah, it by the end of it is like, I
Did
didn't.
Did you build a princess gem?
No, I did not. I by the time I got to basically, hey, I'm about to go off to the final bit here before the final boss fight, and you can still go back and do other shit. And at that point, I was kind of done. So no, I built some pretty awesome gems, but I didn't get all the way up to the oculi. Is that what they are?
The oculi, yeah. I did
Yeah.
end up building a princess stone, and so for those who don't know, here's how. And this is a free game on, or at least it was on Xbox One. So highly
For this
recommended.
month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for this month. So go out and get it if you already haven't, because for a free game, there's definitely a lot of value there.
Oh
So
yeah.
basically, to make a princess stone, you need and oculi, the gems you can equip, the only equipment that you really have. They come in 4 different flavors: rough, tumbled, faceted, and brilliant. And in order to make a gem of the next rank up, you need 3 of the next lower ranks. So you make 3 and make 3 rough gems, and then you have a tumbled gem. In order to make a princess stone, you need a brilliant onyx, a brilliant diamond, and a brilliant spindle.
Ugh.
And so I
That's a lot
had
of grinding.
actually it was funny because the only reason I did it was there was a side quest that gave me 3 faceted spindles. So
Oh.
that combined right away, and for a spindle you need to have an brilliant onyx or an onyx and a diamond. So essentially, to get the princess stone, you need 2 brilliant onyxes and 2 brilliant diamonds, and you get onyxes and diamonds by combinations of the other stuff. But anyway, so the way the crafting system worked is it's got this little triangle. You put in your things, and then in the middle button is craft. And there were a couple of times where I was trying to make diamonds. So I would take 2 of the gems, but I would be in a hurry, and I'd accidentally make a combination of just 2 gems instead of 3. And I'd done that a couple of times, and I told myself, hey, I need to be more careful because there's no way to undo this. So I was making my brilliant diamond. I already had my brilliant onyx, and I had my brilliant spindle. So I'm making my brilliant diamond. No, I was making I was getting ready to finally make the princess stone. So I had the 3 components. And like I said, a spindle is made with an onyx and a diamond. So
Oh.
I put in my diamond. I put in my onyx. I'm really excited. I hit A, and it combines it into a brilliant spindle.
Oh.
So I have 2 brilliant spindles and no princess stone. I'm like, fuck! No!
Oh.
You son of a bitch! And then I remembered something. I'm like, wait a minute. It hasn't saved.
Oh,
I turned off my Xbox right then and there, pulled the power. Then when it came back up, quit out of the app. And then went back in, still had all my gems.
nice.
Oh my God, I was so relieved. Like, keep in mind, I am someone who has been through Destiny and Borderlands and I'm trying to think. I guess Stick of Truth, you had a little bit of crafting there. So I've gotten lots of stuff, and I've made mistakes. Like I've ditched things that I had.
Mistakes have been made.
And all of those paled to my reaction to this one fucking mistake in this free game that I barely heard of until this month when people started downloading it. This right there was one of the biggest crafting mistakes I had made in my video game career.
So what did the princess gem get you? Because for those who don't know, these gems are essentially buffs.
Right.
They, some of them give you fire damage, some of them give you fire resistance, some of them let you move faster, that kind of thing.
Right. It depends on what the gem is and where you equip it. You have 3 slots. You have your weapon slot, you have your defense slot, and an accessory slot. And generally, like you said, you put a gem in the offense, it gives you some sort of offensive capability, defensive capability relative to the gem, and then accessory, some sort of ability. Like you start earlier in the timeline, you have like extra hit points or extra MP. So what the Princess Stone does is it gives you straight up 40% damage on your melee. It gives you resist all, I think, 25%, like both magic and physical if you equip it in defense. And then I can't remember what it does in your accessory slot. I just put it on the offensive deal because she was never getting hit. When my one dude would just cast Taunt, it would take an attack that would hit both of us for my princess to get damaged. So I didn't really need to worry about defense on her. So I just put the baddest ass stone on her sword. And so it was just like, yeah, I'm going to just hit everyone for increased damage no matter what they are. I think if you have the right combination, like the right gem for a monster's weakness, I think it does slightly more damage. I was never able to find solid numbers, and I never cared to do any like scientific testing or anything.
Yeah, this game, at least on the normal difficulty, was not hard. Once you
No.
kind of have a grasp of how everything works, and you level up super quick, so you don't really need to do any grinding. The monsters, once you get a sense of what they're weak to and or how the timeline works, it's pretty easy to get through most of the battles. And even like I never even was defeated in any of the boss battles. There were a couple that it just took me a round or two of getting hit a lot to figure out what their weaknesses were, and then a couple were annoying, but I never had a TPK. So
I think the hardest fight was the first one. For me, the
Yeah.
hardest boss fight was the very first one, and I nearly gave up. I actually had to tone down the difficulty because I was on expert, I think, and it's hard because you don't know how fighting works.
Yeah.
And it actually is a pretty decent enemy. I know I wiped a couple of times on the final boss after that, but yeah, in between the first and the last fights, I really didn't have any wipes.
Yeah, but overall, absolutely a fun game, especially for
definitely.
free. I'd recommend it. For money, who knows? Your mileage may vary. I think it was fun enough. I'm intrigued to see the couch co-op. I think older sibling, younger sibling, this might actually be a really fun game because the idea of like younger sibling being able to control Ignatius and float him around and help out, while not having to really worry about a lot of the strategy, I think that might be really fun in specific age situations. But for me, I need an RPG with more weight and
Yeah.
not as much rhyming. Oh my god.
Yeah, and I will say this is yet again a great Xbox Live game that has an incredible soundtrack.
Yes.
Just another soundtrack that I bought. It's by a French Canadian artist, Cour de Pirate, I think is how you pronounce her name, and she just oh my god, so good. I actually tweeted at her and Graham Coker,
Yeah.
who wrote the music for Ori, and he responded to me, and I geeked out a little bit. I'm like, yee!
Oh yeah, he's surprisingly active on Twitter. That was very, very cool.
He doesn't have very many followers, and he's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
I was kind of surprised.
He had that interview with Major Nelson, and if I can pimp myself for a moment, I got one of my questions that I tweeted at them asked in that interview, and I was actually kind of surprised at the few number of questions. So I really think it's just the people who are aware of who, and I think this is true for composers especially, but I think even just artists and programmers and the people who actually make the games that we play, I think even die-hard fans don't necessarily know people's names and people's, who are the people who make these games. Unlike movies and TV, and where faces are very obvious, game designers, game artists, game programmers, they're hiding. And unless you sit and watch the credits, which I do because I watch the credits for everything because I'm that kind of person, you don't know who that is. So I think those people get not intentionally ignored, but people don't know who they are.
Yeah, and more to that point, I think it's kind of an interesting world we live in, where the people who play those games and stream those games have the capability, or I guess it's just what they do. They tend to be more famous than the people who make the games.
Yeah.
And actually, speaking of which, I guess we can touch on this for a second. Ray is leaving Achievement Hunter.
I have never seen the Rooster Teeth site go down so quickly. Like, I happened to be on Twitter when the no announcement came out, and I remember seeing the on Twitter the title saying that he was leaving, and thinking, I wonder if this is just a funny thing or if that's real, and typing in to roosterteeth.com and getting the oh whoops arg message and going, oh yes, I guess it's real.
Yeah, I think people who have kind of been in the know, wink, kind of saw this coming. And I'm not one to watch streamers, but apparently Ray's stream has become rather popular. And this was after his stream was apparently, well, we shouldn't talk about that. But I'm just saying that he has found a place in streaming, and for those who watch it, it has been very, very entertaining, supposedly. So he's going to do great. And even if streaming isn't a thing, I mean, he's still a personality. He will land somewhere and be just fine.
Yeah.
And he's got a great name, Big and Brown. So can't go wrong with that.
So
yeah, and I figure,
real quick, I would like to volunteer to be the next Hispanic hire for Achievement Hunter. I am a big personality as well. I am also big, and whereas Ray was an extremely funny, extremely small brown man, I would be an extremely large, but not quite as funny brown man. Just saying, putting my name out there.
well, Luke wanted to take over doing the Strangerhood, which I know that's what what he said he was going to try to do. So you might have to work a little bit with Luke on that. But yeah, I think in the name of equality at Rooster Teeth, we definitely need to replace a brown man with a brown man.
And, people who have left Rooster Teeth end up having pretty good careers afterwards. You look at Griffin and a work with, what was it called? The Ark, I forget what it's called, all the stuff
Fort.
she's been doing. The Fort, of course, the Fort. The Zellner brothers with their film. Who else am I thinking of? I guess Ray now. I'm thinking of somebody else who left recently or a while ago and did well for themselves. But anyway, best of luck to him. I mean, this is what he's passionate about doing, and it always reminds me of things where like people work for this company, but like our friend Caleb, for instance, he's moonlighting quote unquote at Rooster Teeth until his dream of being like a professional frisbee player can be achieved.
It is something he's working for. The dream of professional ultimate frisbee is, well, it's still a dream, but he is still working towards it. So,
well, Philadelphia has a frisbee team, I believe. I think they're called the Philadelphia Spinners or something. Or
why are they not the Philadelphia Flyers? Why are they not
that's
the
been taken
Philadelphia?
by an organization that has a little bit more money.
I know.
Philadelphia Spinners is the Philadelphia Ultimate Team. So
Caleb,
if you're listening, buddy,
take
Philly's
him
got
down.
team.
Take him down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wish Ray nothing but the best of luck, and I'm going to go on to Tumblr and continue to enjoy the weeping and gnashing of teeth.
And the best part is, if Jonathan gets hired by Rooster Teeth to be the new Ray, that means I could be the new Roadblock. It's very exciting.
We'll have to put you on a strict weightlifting and gorging diet and routine. So
and I guess my hands get a lot busier too.
A little bit.
How did that happen? Whoops.
Listen, shut up.
I think you just made him blush on air. That was amazing.
Look,
Physiologically impossible.
I only hug the willing.
Aw. Couple more weeks, and event redacted.
Yep.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. All right. Anything else we want to talk about as we're coming up upon an hour?
And
Oh, wow.
we'll go
Just
a
kind of
little
flew,
long.
right?
Yeah, we'll go a little long, I think, because we
Okay.
do have some more stuff to cover. Real quick, I just wanted to say, one of the pictures I have up is of a gentleman named Jordan Spieth. He is 21 years old and just tied a record for the lowest score at the Masters that he won.
Ah.
21 years old, and
So
he has won one of the most prestigious golf tournaments in the world and tied the fucking record. Like, I was watching all weekend as his score got lower and lower, and everyone's like, "Well, it's only Friday, so and things are bound to get a little better, or it's about to get more competitive." Then on Friday, they're like, "Well, he's certainly pulling out ahead, but yeah, it's just Friday. I mean, there's still Saturday and Sunday." And Saturday and Sunday, his score continued to get lower until it was just a foregone conclusion that unless he just had a meltdown, he was going to win, and that didn't happen. He ended up winning, and it really does put your life into perspective when someone who's less than half your age goes and does something like that.
Roadblock. You know what I was doing when I was 21?
drinking.
Watching Daredevil the movie.
Oh, wow.
The world really has changed for the better. I must
I
say.
may not. I may not enjoy golf, but I love the fact that golf is one of the few sports in where your score getting lower and lower is a good thing.
We were playing a game of Halo. I guess it was a Halo 1 anniversary, me and Izzy. And it was our first time playing in a while. It was our first time back. And our score, the little score that you get when you play co-op, kept getting lower and lower because we just kept dying a lot. Like, especially me. I just died so much in the Truth and Reconciliation mission that it ended up that both of our scores were negative. And we're like, well, this is golf, right? This is good. Lower scores better. Now that we're negative scores, we're only going to get lower. This is great. No, that's not how it works. But
Yeah. Yeah, they eventually just start taking away points as fast as they want. It's sad. I have to get
and,
back into working on lassos. Oh.
yeah, no me gusta. But actually, that reminded me. I was looking at what was on the stream. Celebrity Deathmatch is coming back.
That's
Yeah.
right, I heard about that. MTV2, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because the picture that I had, I think, was Tiger Woods versus Andre Agassi.
Yes, I was wondering about that. That's amazing. I wonder if they're going to continue to have like the old school claymation or if they're going to upgrade to like the CGI claymation.
CGI that looks like claymation.
Probably that. So, all right. So, in this new era, because it's been a minute since Celebrity Deathmatch was a thing, who are some death matches that you guys would like to see?
Ugh.
Here's hard mode. No Bieber.
Well, yeah.
Bieber is a foregone conclusion. So, for our exercise, let's throw some names out there.
Oh, geez, celebrity deathmatch. I'm sorry. This afternoon, I watched the clip of Jimmy Kimmel with all of the Avengers actors on it playing Family Feud.
That
So
was amazing. That was
that's
great.
all. I'm. That's all I can think about right now is that. But that's not funny. Although the Jimmy Kimmel thing is definitely funny. Go watch it. It's um. God, I don't know. Like I'm gonna admit something. I never was a huge fan of Celebrity Deathmatch.
I've got
I
one.
got I got one for you. Well, Robot, you say yours first.
So, since you had Jimmy Kimmel on, and Jimmy Kimmel kind of gets around, I'm gonna say Jimmy Kimmel versus Jimmy Fallon.
The Battle of the Jimmies.
Battle of the Jimmies.
Oh,
That could be
man.
Whose
interesting.
Jimmies will be rustled first?
That's perfect. Wow. Gosh, I feel like my own pun title is slipping. But I was thinking Christian Bale versus Hugh Jackman. Majestic round 2.
Ooh.
Also, maybe I'm trying to think if there are other like. Oh gosh. Okay.
I'm trying to think.
I got one.
feuds.
Oh, I got one. What's his face? I can't believe it. Nick Offerman versus Zach Galifianakis.
That's good. That's a
I'm
good
going
one.
to emancipate your teeth, boy.
And it would be funny to see which Zach Galifianakis actually showed up.
Will the real Zach Galifianakis please stand up?
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I don't have anybody. Oh, I just want peace and love and Weird Al to kill
It's
everyone. I seem to remember Weird Al showing up
So,
on
do
the
you think
originals,
that
just slaughtering
maybe
people.
it's and I had said no Bieber, but maybe do you think the person that kills Justin Bieber is Marilyn Manson?
Oh, but that's easy.
Well,
Actually,
no, it would be a callback to old Celebrity Deathmatch because I think Marilyn Manson won like 2 matches. I want to say in the old show.
can we put what's the name of New Direction? Can we put all of New Direction in there? I don't know any of those
One
guys'
Direction.
names. One Direction, several directions, all the directions. Can we just
or
put all of them in there?
big tag team battle royal. One Direction versus NSYNC.
And Sync coming back to defend their title or something.
Yeah, of course.
And then the Backstreet Boys show up and then they leave because half of them actually have successful careers doing other things.
And then it turns out that Zayn from One Direction is the traitor because he already left.
Dun,
Zane's the defector.
dun. Well, now this is wrestling. Now we just turned this from deathmatch to wrestling.
Well, that's essentially what Celebrity Deathmatch was.
Yeah.
Yeah, but wrestling had a lot more story, and deathmatch had a lot more death.
Well, there was a little bit of both in there. There was like good like back and forth jabs at each other, and I thought they were pretty cleverly written, actually, especially in its heyday. And I'm
So,
thinking,
speaking of death, who watched Game of Thrones?
I did.
I did not watch it. Do I need to walk away for a little bit?
No, we're
Yeah,
again.
we'll say spoilers free.
Yeah, we're saving. At least I'm saving my stuff for next week when we're gonna do our first spoiler cast of the season. I'm really excited.
Oh,
We're gonna do what we've always done: tape it before the episode proper. And I think we decided we were gonna try and cover 2 episodes per spoiler cast. And I think, given that I have somehow watched the first 2 episodes of Game of Thrones, not saying how, wink, that I think that's a good amount of material to cover in about an hour.
okay. I thought it was a really solid opening episode without going into spoilers. I liked. We are finally in a season in where characters are about to go off, and I don't know what's going to happen because I I only made it halfway through Dance of Dragons before I had to stop. Because I hadn't bought the book and so I didn't have access to it anymore. So I'm excited because a whole bunch of the characters are moving into territory that I've never seen before, and I've made the conscious or decision to not continue reading and to just watch the show because the vast majority of my friends have not read the books, and I had more fun the other night watching Game of Thrones with Mary and Chris than any other episode because I was able to talk to them afterwards, and speculate about things and chat about things, because I didn't know what was going to happen and I didn't have to be afraid of inadvertently saying something that would come off as spoilery, and it was
Right.
a lot more fun.
I thought it was okay. I think trying to decide whether it was just my mood in general, but I really wasn't that impressed. Mainly because it did stick with things in the book. I thought some things were very well done, and certain aspects were very well, I guess, trimmed for television. And I did like for example, the opening scene. There was a third girl in the books.
Yeah.
That totally unnecessary. Like, she basically walks in and then runs away. So they didn't really even need her in there. And then that the whole dialogue was expanded in the books to include the other character, and that wasn't in there either because it really wasn't necessary.
However, there was something missing from that opening scene. And I don't want to say any more because it probably is going to come up if I'm remembering correctly.
Well,
That's one
put
of the
it
few
in
things.
the chat here.
Here we go. Chatting, not with Luke. I need to chat with you guys. Uh,
But
anyway,
overall,
talk. Yeah.
it was all right, and I think that going forward, we're going to start getting into situations that, for book readers like myself, are we're going to have stuff coming off the rails really quick, and that's just because we are at the end of what's been written almost, and so things are going to happen, and stuff is going to be different. And I'm wondering if it's going to be a situation like with, and this was actually something that No, actually, I think I maybe, but to your point, Obo. But I think like for the important stuff, we got all the information from that conversation.
Oh, I completely agree. That I totally agree.
I don't even remember the third thing.
I expect either well, and I won't go into it for spoilers, but I figure that might just come up later in the season that we'll get the rest of that. But anyway.
But I because the will I
Okay, I'll say this because it's not really a spoiler.
uh-huh.
She says that she'll answer 3 questions.
Right, and I'm trying to think if she did.
She did not.
Are you sure?
In the book,
What
she
was what was the question? Here, put it in the thing. This
you know what? Yeah, it's not. We'll deal with this in the spoiler cast so that we don't have to keep dancing around
do you
it.
want to be in the spoiler cast?
I can't because of work.
Okay.
But I'm sure it can be discussed later. But
Right.
no, and to your point about things changing, keep going because that's I
It's
think
just
interesting.
like I said. It's we're gonna start running into stuff that's gonna change, and it's gonna be probably a situation like Full Metal Alchemist, where the first anime ended before the manga run, so they kind of had to do their own thing. But then and I guess it doesn't really matter about Brotherhood because I don't think there's going to be another Game of Thrones series. I mean, maybe in the far-flung future, but that's not relevant either. But what happened in Full Metal Alchemist is that you ended up having at least an okay end to that story. The difference is going to be that the show creators know how the story is supposed to end. Mm-hmm. So the road may meander a little bit differently, but it's ultimately all going to the same place. And I think that is I think that's an interesting point because I liked reading the books, but if the series is going to get to the same conclusion as the books faster, I don't know that I'm necessarily going to read those last books for the intricate details that George R. R. Martin likes to include. I don't need to know that there were several kinds of blackberry wine and 3 different kinds of pork at the victory feast or the defeat feast. I don't know how it's going to go. No one does. Well,
Yeah.
except those guys. So I don't need those details. I just want an end to the story. And if the TV show gets there as good and quicker, why waste my time with the books?
And Martin not only will it get there at the same place where Martin has said it should, which I think is important, but he's already given his blessing for the show to go off the rails and do things that the books are not doing, and he is continuing to be a part of the show. So for all we know, those changes might be minor, they could be major, who knows. I'm also kind of hopeful that this is going to be good for George R. R. Martin's psyche because once the show passes the books and continues to be good, because I have no doubts, I have no reason to believe it won't continue to be good. I think that'll take the pressure off him because for these last couple of years, it's been a quote unquote race. Can he finish the books before the show? Can he finish? Guess what? The answer is no, and it's okay.
Yeah, we'll have to see. That is definitely an interesting question, and like I said, the show is good, and it's again an excellent example of this new art form kind of stepping up to its source material, and I'm really happy to see Game of Thrones do really well because it's led to other stuff. Like without Game of Thrones, you don't have those other serious dramas. Like I don't think we would have gotten True Detective without Game of Thrones. And True Detective is excellent. That's actually coming back, I think, in June for a new season.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, HBO has really been the pioneer of really eclectic, strange, strong, short form series like this, and even ever since The Sopranos, really, just being able to do, here's 12, 13 episodes all in a row, and now you don't get anything for a year and a half, but it's going to be super high quality because we're going to take the time to do it right. And, I think that to bring it all the way back to Daredevil, I think Netflix being able to do what they're doing is partially because of the HBO model working, and the Netflix finally having the money to do it the right way with the money. I think this is excellent. I love pretty much all the TV show I watch, which isn't that much, is this kind of television. It's not your standard fare anymore, except for Agents of Shield. I still watch that.
And now, actually, this begs a really interesting question, I think. Do you guys prefer the Netflix method, where you get everything at once and then it's up to you to set your own viewing schedule, or do you prefer the more traditional once a week for the next 10 weeks?
I'm okay with either, but yeah, I'm actually okay with either. I think they both present unique challenges. I will say one of the reasons that I've only watched one episode of Daredevil is because it was I'd sat down to watch it with somebody, and then the next episode, you lose your watching partner, and when you lose your watching partner, or if you get off track with your watching partner, that can set things off, and it can make it harder to keep up with the show. And I think if you've got all 13 episodes just out there, it's easier to catch up. Whereas if it's a one at a time, one at a time, one at a time, if you miss a week, and then it's not necessarily easy to find it. Like Agents of Shield, I'm perpetually a week behind on because I watch it on the app, and it only gets released on the app a week after the episode airs. So I can't keep up with anything. But Daredevil, I'm hoping to catch up and be back with my watching partner. So
I still think that's weird because I'm going to watch Agents of Shield tomorrow.
it's because I'm not logged in as a cable subscriber. So
Oh, that's why. Okay,
that's the only
no,
difference.
That's got to be it. Yep. No, you're right.
Because it literally says on the most recent episode, oh, verify to watch, and that's all I got to do. But because it's just not, I don't have the cable subscription, so it's not a huge deal.
Nope. That makes sense. That absolutely makes sense.
But
And
I like that. I like that it offers that to me, so that if I don't have cable, sure, I will watch your commercials. It'll be great, and I'll wait a week. I'm okay with that.
I think it's good that only a few of my television interests are like that, because watching Daredevil over the weekend, it took a sick day. It took a legit sick day for me to be able to do that. Otherwise, I would still probably have 4 or 5 episodes left now. And because I didn't have anything to do on Friday, and that kind of meant that I didn't have as much to do on Saturday and going into Sunday, then it like I said, it gave me the chance to catch up. But if all of my shows were like that, like if all of the Flash and Arrow and iZombie and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Better Call Saul, if all of those were binge watchable, that would take a lot of time. And
Yeah.
I don't know that I would be able to do it. That's and I guess I should say my preference is the binge watching. I think if you've got the gumption and you can power through it, you can do it. And you just, if you have to leave your friends behind, then you leave your fucking friends behind. Because those shows aren't going to watch themselves. But in all seriousness, I think I prefer that in moderation. I think if all of my TV that I view, which is actually more TV now than in a long time, I think that would be overload. So for right now, I prefer the weekly, as long as there's stuff to watch. Like once we start getting into summer and all the shows that I watch are on hiatus, then I would have it'll be perfect for when Orange is the New Black comes out, because I'll be able to tackle that in pretty short order too.
I think now that I think about it, and now that we've talked about it, I actually am starting to prefer the other method of a weekly set time and where an episode is released, mostly because when we're talking about straight TV, I don't really have that much on my plate. But if we start adding in some of the weekly shows that I watch online, I watch mostly Walking, which is put up by Day9 and 2 of his friends, and that's every Monday night. They get on to Twitch and they do a stream and they play and they talk, and it's essentially a TV show. And I've been sucked into Critical Role, which is a D&D game that Geek and Sundry has been putting out. That's a bunch of voice actors playing D&D, which is awesome. And it's the same kind of thing. You can log in and watch live. And there's something about it's not necessarily the watching live performance, although I appreciate that. What it is watching that performance with other people in the chat, and or watching it with when I was watching episode 1 with Daredevil with Luke, being able to like chat with him and not talk through the thing, but be able to comment on things. I enjoy that more than I admit, So
Yeah.
I think I would want the episodic now that I think about it, because it would give me incentive to have that moment, or if I can't have that moment live with somebody, to then be a part of the conversation, which is why I enjoy not being now in the live Game of Thrones.
I guess the question is, are you a bad enough dude to binge watch? Bitch.
No, I'm not. No, literally, like when we were talking about doing Daredevil, I was actually planning out, okay, we'll watch an episode tonight, we'll watch an episode tomorrow, we'll do, an episode here or there, and, scheduling it out to spread it out, mostly because of timing. So, yeah.
I've got a friend who's going to be doing something similar with Daredevil. He's going to be watching it one episode at a time, which to me is just like, this is why you don't ever have time to do anything. Like, he still hasn't watched any of Legend of Korra, which is a travesty in my opinion, because Legend of Korra was excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just... And this is not even counting any anime that I might be interested in. Like, I'm actually kind of glad that at this moment in time, there's not really any anime series that I'm just like itching to see, because, like I said, my dance card is full. Like tomorrow, I have 3 hours of TV to watch between the Flash, iZombie, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Hey, by the way, how cool is it that the main character of iZombie's name is Liv? Get it? It's a pun.
I never realized that.
Sorry, I ruined iZombie for you. But back to the whole binging versus spreading it out kind of thing. In a way, we're kind of geared, like, we've been prepared for binging just in terms of 20 plus years of video game releases, right? Where when the game comes out, a lot of us will play it and beat it usually within 2 weeks for sure. Sometimes we'll actually play through the entire campaign like as soon as we get the game. I've done that on more than a few titles. And the benefit of doing the binging thing is that when you make a TV show that way, you don't have to go back in the episode and explain the premise every single time. I know, Jonathan, you mentioned that Sleepy Hollow has that kind of had the same flaw last season.
It does, and actually the Arrow, it's opening sequence. It doesn't do this like in the narrative like Sleepy Hollow did, but it has the same opening where it's like, my name is Oliver Queen, and I was trapped on a hellish island for 5 years, and now I have to become someone else. I have to become something else. And they've been doing that shit for like 3 years. It's like, come on, stop. We know who the fuck you are.
I thought you were going to say like, a spell of living stone was cast on me, but then the spell was broken, and we live again! I combined Conan the Adventurer and Gargoyles there.
Well, Gargoyles is pretty awesome, and I would love to see an HBO live-action version of that.
So,
I don't want to see stoned sex.
Interestingly,
I'm sorry.
Hey, if it's between Riker and Troy in gargoyle form, why the hell not?
Except that it would be between Keith David and Marina Sirtis, which...
Well,
actually,
no,
Keith David is...
It could be between a human and a gargoyle.
That's true.
How kinky is it going to get?
I don't know.
Okay, well, we should stop that.
So, yeah, let's depart from this thing. But speaking of Keith David, he's on the latest season of Community, which is showing on Yahoo Screen. And not to give spoilers for the latest episode, but they take him in kind of a interesting direction that I did not expect. Because he sort of has that voice of gravitas, so the joke is you get Keith David basically to say anything, and it sounds like kind of amazing because he's Keith David. Kind of the same idea like Morgan Freeman or Patrick Stewart, right?
Kind of. Patrick Stewart, I don't know.
No, like Deputy Director Bullock from American Dad, where he plays like this sort of like lascivious sort of goofball, borderline idiot like deputy director, but it's Patrick Stewart's voice, so it's hilarious. So just imagining him going down, like animated version of him, going down the stairs of the main character's house in like a robe that's clearly too small, and him singing, I like little girls. They make me feel so good. I like little girls. They make me feel so bad.
Instead of that, can we just have you doing your Patrick Stewart impression doing that? Because that was
Space.
amazing.
The final frontier. I kind of helped. I've been watching Pete Holmes's X Men sketches from like a couple of years ago, where he actually dresses as Professor Xavier, and he's doing a Patrick Stewart impersonation, and he's basically firing the X Men and making fun of their powers and saying they're lame, which is pretty great. I guess Patrick Stewart's pretty decent. I finally found my impersonation I can do, or have I? Oh,
Anything
gosh.
else we want to talk about before we call it an evening?
House of Wolves. Ow!
Is that?
Oh
really-
yeah, that's coming out.
It's the next Destiny expansion, and I guess this is not the crowd for it, but
No.
people
It
have been
is.
talking.
I need to air my grievance over Destiny.
Oh, okay, yes, please.
Last week, after weeks of trying, a group of us beat Crota without anybody dying. We got the achievement for, well, I should say, we unlocked the achievement for finishing a raid with nobody in the raid dying. Except
Raider, right.
Flawless Raider. It only unlocked for one person that night. And everyone said, okay, well, achievements have been wonky, maybe blah, blah, blah. And so it unlocked for a second friend of mine the next night. And that's been it. I have not had it unlock, and it's been a week. I think some of the other people in my raid have not had it unlock, and it's been a week. I am a little upset about this. Not a lot,
Right.
a little.
How hard was it?
Okay, so we had been trying for quite a while doing it at Atheon, because we're all, basically everybody is level 32 and I'm a level 31 because I stopped playing for a while. So we would get on and we would try it with Atheon, and basically all of the fighting we would just blow through and everything would be okay, and then something stupid would happen. We'd be doing
Right.
the jumping puzzle and someone would die. We'd be doing the Gorgon maze, and a Gorgon would go in the direction it never has before, and and that's annoying. So the night that we did it, we actually had someone tell us how best to do it with Crota, and so we tried it 2 or 3 times, and on the third attempt we blew through it. And I'm not going to say it was easy, because it is hard, and it took some fudging, and it took doing the bridge funness, but we did Crota legit, essentially, and so it's doable, and in a way, Crota is actually easier than Atheon with the Flawless Raider because there's less,
There's no jumpy bits.
there's
literally.
yeah, and that's the failure of Destiny, in my opinion, is its platforming sucks. It really does, and the sneaking sucks. So do what it does best and get to the fighting, and that's what Crota is. It was hard enough, and we had worked on it long enough, even with Atheon, that I'm mostly, my upset is just, hey, we worked on this, and so I want this achievement to unlock. I deserve this damn thing. And I didn't get it, so I'm kind of upset.
Yeah, we haven't done any raiding in a while. Most of my gaming time has been spent either in Borderlands, or we had a Drunk Halo night the other night, which was a lot of fun.
Nice.
And oh god, pistols on Hang 'em High.
Old school.
Oh,
Very old school.
so good. Oh my god, that was so much fun. And then we did a lot of SWAT. So here's something that you might hear on the floor of RTX 2015. So for those who have played Destiny, there is a character named Eris Morn who is basically your narrator as you go through some of the new story missions in the Dark Below expansion. At one point, she's like, Crota, they're awakening him. She's really annoying. So
Yeah.
in our drunken runs through these missions, just a simple shout of Crota started becoming Crota, and then Crota, and then just louder and louder and more obnoxious. So there's that. On Friday, we kept asking for the SWAT game type because, quite frankly, it's one of my favorite game types, and a bunch of the people in our lobby agreed. So when Brandon, poor Brandon, our friend Noobs, was picking whatever mission we would do, all of a sudden the entire lobby would just start going swat, 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 and again drinking had happened. So basically, our call and answer is going to be Crota, swat, Crota, swat. So our two first-person shooter crushes are going to be making a very annoying splash at RTX. Hopefully,
You know, I've been playing a lot of Master Chief Collection. I've been playing a bunch of Evolve recently, which because I finally have some friends who have gotten me into it and gotten me back into it because no one bought it when it came out. So we've been having a lot of fun with Evolve. Blew through Child of Light, blew through Ori. So Destiny, once I had done a few things in that raid, basically about once a week, a couple of my friends would text me and be like, "Flawless Raider tonight," and we'd get on and we'd try for an hour or two, and then someone would have to go to bed, and then a week later, someone would be like, "Flawless Raider tonight." So this is the culmination of a couple of weeks worth of work. I do hear there is no raid in House of Wolves; that it is just some kind of horde mode.
yeah, and there's not even it hasn't even been confirmed as a horde mode. That's just the general consensus based on the information we have.
Yeah.
But it's activity. It's they refer to it as an arena activity called the Prison of Elders, which is already interesting because we've heard of the Prison of Elders. In one of the Venus strikes, the Archon Priest has been sprung from the Prison of Elders. So there's lots of different Prison of Elders. And so it's very possible that we'll get some sort of like multi-faction fight of some sort. And I think the biggest thing that I'm not sure about is the fact that it's not 6-player. I was really hoping, if not a raid, we would get some sort of 6-player content that's not Crucible with that's PvE in this new expansion, and it doesn't sound like we will yet. There is another raid coming out later this year, but not with this expansion. And I'm going to be frank, that is a bit disappointing. I don't know. I think that whatever this is could be fun. I mean, essentially, Mass Effect 3 multiplayer is just horde mode with different stuff, and you have your different classes and stuff, and it's fun as hell.
Oh,
yeah, it's awesome. And I don't know if I've played with everyone in here. I know I've played with Jack, and I know you've played, Lauren, but I don't know that I played with you.
I thought we played once or twice. I dropped off of that a little quicker than others, but it was a ton of fun.
No. Like this was recent. Like I only started playing Mass Effect 3 multiplayer recently.
Oh, serious?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then never mind. No, because I haven't played Mass Effect 3 probably in a year.
Yeah, I just started. We had a few nights, and it was a lot of fun.
And you had a few drinks.
There were probably a few drinks, I think.
Yeah.
and like I said, tons of fun. But and if Destiny can capture some of that in whatever this is, I think that'll be cool. I just wish it had been another 6-player activity, because right now, if you have a team of 6, you have 2 raids or Crucible. And don't get me wrong. I mean, with the right group of friends, I will happily do Vaults of Glass over and over and over again, because it is just too much fun. And with maybe a slightly different group of friends, I will do Crota. Although last couple of times I've done Crota, I've kind of failed as raid leader to get it accomplished. And it's easy to blame the team, and it's easy to say, hey, these guys don't have the equipment. But you know what? It comes down to who's in charge. That was me, and I failed. So I have to work on that. But I have some interest in doing that. So if you ever need a 6, I have the baller horn. I have all the equipment. But actually, speaking of that, so with House of Wolves, by far the most exciting thing is that apparently there's some sort of upgrade path for your old legendaries,
which is interesting.
Yes.
Which I hope it's not, hey, here's a 20 millionth other currency that you have to go grind out.
It depends. Like, I would be willing to grind out a lot of stuff if that means my Fatebringer can be of level.
Nah, see, I've reached the point of apathy with Destiny, and there was a couple of moments when we were doing the flawless. Literally, it was 532s and me as a 31, and everyone's like, "Why don't you just go and grind out what you need for a 32?" And when we decided to go do the flawless on Crota, I jokingly replied with, "Well, now we're doing the thing I need to do to get to 32. I That's all I need is just this other currency." Like, I don't have a Galahorn because it never dropped for me, and I didn't buy it the 1 week you could. I have a fully upgraded. I basically did the whole raid just with my sniper rifle because I have it fully upgraded on the new path. So it's 332, and I basically just ran the whole raid with that. I didn't really need anything else. I feel like if new content isn't going to give me new content, if it's just going to give me a new way to grind out old content, I'm not that interested. I am more interested in this new mode. While I'm disappointed that it's not 6-player, at least it's new. It's not something we haven't seen before. And while I'm disappointed in the lack of raid, if what we get is new content, I'm happy with that.
Right, and as long as it's fun. That is my biggest thing. I just want it to be fun. And I know I have some friends who are really into Crucible and the PvP stuff. So Trials of Osiris is going to be right up their alley when it drops. And if you look at the armor, and they're calling it end-game armor, so I don't know if that means current level 32 end-game armor, or maybe it's another way to get to level 34 with this Trial of Osiris armor. Either way, it looks pimp as hell. The Warlock helmet as that Jackal helmet. Oh my god, it looks so nice. So there's plenty of stuff to get excited about the new expansion. I mean, I was going to get it anyway because I have the season pass, so it's not like I'm paying any extra for it.
Yeah, so I have the season pass too, so it'll drop, and I will probably play through it. But I don't. If I'm gonna multiplayer, then I'm gonna Halo or I'm gonna Evolve.
Well, it's funny because it's supposedly gonna drop on May 19th, and we have something we're doing that weekend.
Oh yes, we do.
So
Event redacted.
Yes, I am not bringing my Xbox to Philly. So
no, I am not.
Actually, hold on. I might. If there's new exotics that Sir might be selling.
Oh my god. You don't think someone will have access? Okay, I am not bringing my Xbox because after Event Redacted, I'm going to visit my parents for a couple of days in Buffalo, and I'm not dragging my Xbox One all the way across the country twice.
Yeah, and you know what? We'll see. Because I have people.
Can't you go buy stuff from Zur with the app now? I thought that was the purpose of the app, was so that you can move shit around and take care of all of the menial buying and selling.
Vault stuff, which actually with today's patch, your vault is bigger, so which is nice. But you can move stuff from your character to your vault and things like that. But
you can actually buy things.
I don't know that you can actually not buy things. I'll have to double check. I don't think you can. You also can't pick up and turn in bounties with the app. Because that's a little too much automation, but we'll see. There's really only one thing, at least from right now, that I want from Zur, and that's just actually with the most recent shotgun buff, the universal remote is actually pretty good. There was a guy who soloed Crota's End on normal mode with shotguns, and only shotguns, and he could only do it because of the buff 2 shotguns that came out recently.
I don't know. I saw that guy who did Crota alone with what's that bolt action rifle that's like
No Land Beyond?
Yeah. Who did it with that. And I figure if you can do it with that, you can do it with anything.
Oh, there was a guy who did it as a level 20 hard mode. Well, soloed Crota's End hard mode as a level 20.
How? I thought you had to at least be a level 30 before you could do damage on Crota with the sword.
I don't know. He's only released the videos for the bridge and the abyss, which by far are the 2 easiest sections to do as a solo. And I say that, and I can't do it. I tried it earlier, and
it's still super hard. But my understanding is you can't actually do damage to Crota, because I remember when Crota first came out, that was the big deal. That
was the big deal being a 30. Was that unless you had a 31, you needed to have a 31 as the sword runner.
Yeah, you could not beat you could not finish the raid without a 31, which meant at least for the first couple of days until a couple people leveled up, nobody could beat the raid, which annoyed the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
I was not
I
happy with that. So how could
No,
someone at
and
20?
that's again another flaw with Crota's End, which I think one of the reasons why we're probably not getting a raid in this expansion is because they're taking their time with the next one. And if that results in us having a more fun raid, something on the level of Vault of Glass, then that's great.
We shall see. But no, I will not be bringing my Xbox with me. Although, if an Xbox becomes available, and considering our friends who are all gaming people want to play something, I'm totally up for that. I'm totally excited about the return of Rock Band. I want my drum kit. I want to go nuts.
Oh my god, I am. We have our drum kit and stuff sitting by the TV. It's gathering dust, and it's gonna literally get dusted off, and I can't wait. It's
I
gonna be
know.
awesome.
I have to buy a new drum set because I got rid of mine many, many years ago. But I am super excited.
I still have the stain, like our drum kit. We Lisa broke the foot pedal because she's awesome, and so I had to get the stainless steel jobber, and it's still. I mean, it's the rest of the plastic will probably break before that foot pedal does.
Nice. Jenga,
Yes.
what are you looking forward to? Since we've kind of hogged everything about Destiny talk for a little bit.
Well, I was talking to Roadblock a little earlier about like how I wasn't going to buy a next gen system until there was a release that I thought I really needed to have, and that release has finally come. And
Oh,
Mortal Kombat X, surprisingly, looks so great, like a throwback to the game that I played as a kid, with all new graphics and just sort of the attention to detail and just the blood and the guts and the gore that remind me of the fatalities of yesteryear. I think that the Xbox One purchase is happening sooner rather than later. I would
nice.
say within the next month, and I will probably buy Mortal Kombat X. I may get the one that comes with the Halo, collected edition, Master Chief Collection, just to make it so I have a game to play with, and then also I'll pick up Mortal Kombat along with that too.
So I'm assuming you've seen that video way back from the Super Bowl that had that was the Conan O'Brien Super
Oh,
Bowl
Marshawn
video.
Lynch and
Yeah,
Rob Gronkowski.
yeah.
Yeah, it looks so great from that. But only recently have I actually started seeing gameplay from the game itself more, and then I found myself on a kind of Mortal Kombat like binge. Right, I wanted to catch up on all the stuff I had missed. So I played MK 1, 2, and 3, and then kind of lost touch around Mortal Kombat 4. And then I just sort of watched all these videos of the fatalities and the storylines and the alternate storylines and the MK versus DC, and now I'm ready to dive right in.
So let me ask, as someone who is obviously a huge fan of that universe and that game franchise, it was recently released that there's going to be a way to pay. I think it's DLC. It's considered DLC that will make fatalities easier. That will simplify the button prompts. What do you think of this?
Well, it's as a businessman, it makes sense, and I kind of understand the economics of it and the profit margin part of it and the marketing part of it. Right, that makes sense to do that.
Hmm.
And as a crotchety old man, and as someone who played these games and had to like master like Scorpion's, who struggled mightily with Scorpion's fatality, I could probably still do it if I had a controller on me. It does feel like a bit of a cheat, and it feels like you're building a kind of, and it does reek of all the excesses of building a paywall around success in the, and it's even worse in the freemium games like Simpsons Tapped Out, where you kind of know that it's free, but to play quote unquote, but there are ways to sort of jump around it if you want to spend a little bit of money on those extra donuts, right?
Oh yeah.
But I'm already dropping $60 for this game. And to milk another 10 or 15 out of me so that I'm competitive with people that play online. I mean, not that I care about that kind of stuff because I enjoy video games. I would not say I am a very talented or skilled video game player, but I like to play with my friends, right? So I will probably not be dropping money to make Fatality easier, but if it
Well, and
adds to someone's experience, I mean, most people who play the games and don't want to spend the money can be okay with not spending the money for the Fatality, right?
Yeah, and it's in fairness, because I agree with you with the crotchety old man. Like, back in my day, you had to be able to go to memorize everything.
Back in the day, you had a crumpled up piece of notebook paper with all the fatalities written on it.
Well, I know I did because I sucked at Mortal Kombat. Um, I really did. I suck at fighting games. I will say this: at least the thing they're selling doesn't really affect the competitiveness of the game because once you've reached the point where you're inputting a fatality, the game is over. You're just showing off now. It kind of sucks that the people who are going to learn how to do the fatalities the old school way are it's going to cheapen that because now you won't know, well, did they learn how to really do the correct button presses, or are they just hitting A? But yeah, I mean, I guess in the end it doesn't really matter if the game is still good. The game is still good, and this is just aesthetic. I also, yeah, I sucked at Mortal Kombat. I was really bad. I was so
I'm just
bad
thinking
at
about
it.
the GIF I saw today of Cassie Cage doing the split punch on a male character, and you actually see the testicles getting wrecked,
Oh
and
God,
I'm just like, I'm good.
that's the best thing about that video. If for those of you listening, if you haven't seen it, it's the Conan O'Brien. I don't remember what his bit is called, and where he plays video games and he reviews them.
I think it's called a Clueless Gamer.
Yeah, but it's him and Marshawn Lynch and Gronkowski just before the Super Bowl, and it's probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And it's funny in ways you don't expect. And those moments where they were using a modded version where they could just press a button and get a fatality because these
Sure.
guys didn't know what they were doing. But when they showed some of those fatalities, just these two massive guys who are just who are professional football players and hardened guys. And yeah, they've been nice to each other and they're funny and they're witty, but they're still these giant men just watching this video game happen. And the moment Marshawn Lynch walks away, I thought I was going to die of laughter. Was probably one of the funniest things I've ever seen. So definitely go watch it just to see the reaction on these guys' faces when they see the fatalities. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's,
And that's probably
there you
one
go.
of the things. And that's
Mike,
probably one of the things that sold me on the game to begin with.
was Marshawn Lynch?
Well, not just Marshawn Lynch, but that Clueless Gamer like thing. And it recaptured the love that I had for the franchise. And I caught a lot of crap from my friends a lot of them were more Street Fighter fans than they were Mortal Kombat. And like,
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Street Fighter has so much better controls. Mortal Kombat's just the live act. It's all style over substance, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I love both franchises, but if I had to choose between one or the other, I'd say I'm a Mortal Kombat guy.
Ain't nothing wrong with some style.
That's right. Fatality. Friendship. Wait, friendship? Again?
Friendship.
Or the
I'm sorry,
Babalities.
I couldn't hear you over my super animation cancel Street Fighter Alpha 3 combo.
Oh, speaking of Street Fighter, have you guys heard about the campaign by the guy who did the voice of M. Bison in the dub, Richard Newman? Like, apparently, voice actors don't make a lot of money in general. Like, they don't, not compared to actors. And this guy had fallen on hard times. He's in that special place where he's too young for the old people roles, but too old for the young people roles. And it looks like there's an Indiegogo campaign to sort of help him save his house, done by his son. To the idea that this meme of him saying yes, yes, like took off or whatever, and if everyone who enjoyed that gave $1, they could save their house. Dominic linked to it into his Facebook page, and you can
Okay,
probably
so
find it.
that's what that was. All right. Yeah, I have seen that.
Yeah. So I thought I'd just drop a mention to it, for anyone left who's still listening or anyone downloads the show after.
I don't do we have people still streaming at this point? If we do, bully for you. You guys
Yeah,
are
we've been
awesome.
going for a very long time.
Y'all are some hard motherfuckers here.
Man, super glib shark. I feel like we just gave him a double edition.
We kind of did. This is why I love the new format, because we just kind of go off and talk, and this is great. I've loved it. I did not, like I said, an hour was way too short, and I think we've gotten some good stuff.
Absolutely. I guess that's a good way of saying that you can follow him at road_block, her at oboe crazy, and me at Jack Edithil, and us at Glib Shark.
Yay, Glib Shark.
Our announcer is the talented Bob Ball. Our music was done by Linnea Boyev, and our producer is the inimitable Jonathan Cerna. So
I'm
next
gonna
week,
have to produce this shit.
And thank you.
more of the same. We'll cover the week in general, and then just riff off on whatever we need to riff off. Maybe if you're very lucky, we'll bring in a fourth to sort of riff with us. But until next week, on behalf of Jonathan Cerna, Lauren Urban, and the entire Gloob Shark staff, this is Jack Edithil saying, good night, good health, and finish him.
Okay, that one wasn't bad.
Thank you. It
I
misses
like
relevant, right?
Absolutely. I approve. Thumbs up from Ant-Man.
Flawless victory.
Wait, so that's not okay. I don't know my Ant-Man, but that's not Hank Pym, right? That's Scott
Lang.
Lang. Okay.
Yeah, but Hank Pym, my understanding is both of them are in the movie. That's what
Yes.
what's his face is. So
So, fun fact, in the comics, Scott Lang and Jessica Jones dated for a little while.
is Scott Lang the irredeemable Ant-Man?
No, that's Eric O'Grady.
Damn, I wanted him.
Actually,
Okay.
you know what? Apparently, the orphanage that Matt Murdock went to. It's like, oh, where did you go to orphanage? Well, I went to to St. Bertha's.
I was at No Parents Tech.
But apparently, that's the orphanage that Sky, aka Daisy Johnson,
Daisy Johnson?
went to.
Ah, interesting.
It seems
So-
like a kind of place for gifted youngsters.
Maybe even a school. Ooh.
A school run
Patent
by a
pending, patent pending.
professor.
No, you can't say all that. You'll get sued by Fox.
All right,
We
gentlemen.
better get the fuck off the air then.
Bye, guys.
Quick, run away. Yeah, the next week I will probably not be on except for a little bit of This Week in Geek. I have to work again.